On today's show, we interview the CEO of PHLearn, the online education platform with over 1 million subscribers. And we ask, how can you be successful while being industry agnostic?
Some shows don't need a celebrity narrator to introduce the show, but this show does. 2 men, 8 kids, co-created by 2 different women, 13 multi-million-dollar businesses. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Thrive Time Show.
Now, 3, 2, 1, here we go!
Started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom, and we'll show you how to get here. Started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom, now we here.
Yes, 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 and yes. Thrive Nation, on today's show, we are interviewing the founder of PHLearn, Seth. How are you? Welcome on to the Thrive Time Show.
I'm great. Thanks for having me on.
I was looking you up online, doing some research to interview you, and I noticed your last name is Kravitz. Are you Lenny Kravitz's biological brother, or you just share the same last name? Because you look very similar. It's hard to tell.
Yeah, I mean, we get mistaken for that quite a bit. No, I mean, I wish. I tell people he's my uncle, because technically it could be true. Yeah, we are a Kravitz family from originally from the New York area, so it's possible.
Now, you grew up in Youngstown, Ohio. Is that correct?
Yes.
With a 1.92 GPA, which this just in, for anybody out there who's not aware, that's not a high number. When did you figure out what you wanted to do professionally, and how did you do so well in business with such a low GPA?
Yeah, I did not enjoy school. I never enjoyed the format of it. I was one of those kids that was like, wait a second, my great-great-grandfather probably sat in a chair like this, face forward, and like, oh, here's a bunch of information, regurgitate this onto a test, and then we're going to grade you on that. And all that was just something where it was like, that's just not the way I want to learn. And so that's why I never performed well in school, but I did lead me to have a lot of hobbies and side projects and things from the time I was in high school onward. And I think that's where a lot of the entrepreneurial part of me came out of, was just I wanted to go figure out things for myself, and I didn't really want to be a part of any kind of like traditional organized system, and led me to do a lot of things independently, and led me to come up with a lot of things even in high school, where I was starting to try to sell things that I was creating, and just I guess the signs showed themselves pretty early that I was not going to be like the go to college and get a job kind of person.
How often have you told people this story? Because this right here, you're speaking my language here. I mean, this right here, I felt like school. I'm going to school and I'm going, why are we memorizing things and putting it on a piece of paper tomorrow and then forgetting it again? And so why is this school? I mean, why is it that you can become a doctor or a dentist if you can be good essentially at the game memory? And I remember thinking that, and I remember talking to older folks who I knew, who I was like, 17, 18. I'm asking people who are doctors and dentists. I remember talking to one guy, and I said, hey, you're a dentist. Why? He goes, I can just memorize things. I'm like, do you remember anything that you learned, though? And he goes, no, absolutely not. I just memorize it and forget it for the next test. I mean, can you... How free do you feel now as an entrepreneur, free of having to try to memorize random stuff and basically be a human copy machine? Talk to us about that life as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I mean, the life of an entrepreneur is definitely something where I think in the media and in articles, it sounds a lot sexier and more interesting than it is. I mean, a lot of it is just wake up and kind of drag yourself through another day of trying to put out fires and tackle some opportunities when they come along. And it's a lot of just like, takes a tremendous amount of perseverance, which I don't feel like a lot of people aren't necessarily cut out for that. They like security and they like know where their next paycheck's coming from and things like that. So entrepreneurship for me, and the universal experience it seems to be for a lot of people who founded companies as well, is it's just a lot of like wake up on the 300th day in a row where things are not going well and still somehow drag yourself through all the stuff you got to get through that day with, excitement and a smile on your face, and try to, be the leader and drive the company towards hopefully some sort of sustainability. And you got to just be able to do that day in and day out, and just completely embrace ambiguity, like your life depends on it. And I found, I just found that at a really young age, I could do that. And I felt really comfortable in chaos. When things get too structured and too played out as far as like, and tomorrow I'm going to be doing this, and then a week from now I'm going to be doing exactly this, I get incredibly bored and I get antsy and I got to get out of there. And that's been the cycle my entire life. I kind of prefer for things to always be intensely ambiguous and like kind of crazy.
Now, you are a guy, I believe you started, or one of the founders or started insuranceagents.com. Is that correct?
Yeah, back in 2004, was in college. Another guy I knew back in college who was an insurance agent was like, I need a tech guy to like go do this kind of really boring idea I have about helping people save money and save money on insurance online. And basically, it was a pretty boring concept for someone who was young and in college. But I was like, oh, that sounds better than actually going to class anymore. And I pretty much dropped out of Ohio State, and we launched that company called insuranceagents.com, which was really straightforward. We just helped people save money on their insurance. And we did that for about 7 years before we sold it off to a public company.
When you sold it off, did you take the money you earned there and go buy a bunch of Yoo-hoos, or did you buy yourself some koozies, or what kind of fancy things did you buy yourself?
A lot of it was paying off debt. So paid off a lot of debts, invested it into a few other businesses that I started or just invested in. So some of that went to angel investing.
Did you have any big winners from the angel investing? Do you have any big winners?
Some of it's one of those things where it's like I feel like investors do best when they kind of stay in their own lane.
Yeah.
So the things that historically I have done the best on investment wise were things that were in the same kind of like financial marketing tech kind of space.
Okay.
Other companies that were similar to what we were doing. They saw what we were doing. They liked our growth because we were number 24 on the Inc. 500s. We grew incredibly fast. And they looked at that and they're like, hey, can you teach us some things? And we're like, sure. And we'll buy a chunk of your company and we'll help grow. And those are the things that exited with by far the best return I've ever had on my investments, were always investments like that. And the worst ones I ever had were things where I was like, I'm going to go way outside of things I know about. And let's like play around in like, food and other products that I know nothing about really as far as how to sell them. And those are the ones that totally flopped and I lost my money.
I have a question for you that I'm sure you've never been asked before. And if you don't like the question, I will take your hang up as a sign that you didn't like it. So here we go.
I'm not going anywhere.
I think that you and I think very similarly. Let's say that somebody today gave you the rights to MySpace.com, now, which apparently is not doing super well right now. It's not a hot company, okay? But they gave it to you, and you've got a budget of $100,000 a year, okay, total. It's you, MySpace.com. Everyone knows the name. It's kind of a joke now. I mean, if you tell somebody, hey, I updated my MySpace account last night. It's incredible. People immediately laugh because they're thinking, MySpace. But let's just say you have the name MySpace.com. You own it. You got $100,000 you can spend on marketing it. What would you do? What would you sell? Tell us how you would market MySpace.com. Again, putting you on the spot. I just wanted to get into your brain because I think that you thrive on this sort of ambiguity, this chaos. I think you like this. What would you do with MySpace.com and a budget of $100,000?
Well, I mean, the first thing I would try to do is just not even attempt to do anything like the original. It probably wouldn't even have anything. It might even have anything to do with music or certainly nothing to do with a social network of any kind. I feel like obviously that's been tried already. Justin Timberlake even tried, as random as that is, to resuscitate that thing. So I think more of its value now is purely in the name and nothing else. So especially you got a $100,000 budget, you can't really put a lot of tech behind that. So these days, I mean, if I was going to try to do a quick hustle around that, I would probably figure out some product I could either white label or drop ship, because $100,000 again is not a ton to work with, and just kind of ride its notoriety into some sort of bootstrapped profitable company that could throw off cash.
I was thinking like you and I, we could do MySpace.com and then make it like the Uber of those rental units. The rental storage units. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like the Uber of that. The Uber.
I feel like that exists. I feel like there are on-demand storage.
Oh, in my face.
App. Well, I mean, because basically there's anything you can think of basically on demand. Like I joke that there's probably like an on-demand ferret sitting service out there. Like anything you can imagine there being on demand for. It peaked at least a couple of years ago, and a lot of them have failed and dropped off by now. But there's still so many things that I never could imagine could be on demand.
Do you like ferrets? Do you like ferrets?
I just had a lot of ferrets growing up. I don't like them, but my mom liked them.
Your mom had ferrets? How many ferrets did you have growing up?
Usually 3 at a time.
Really?
Yeah.
I have many silky chickens and 13 cats. Do you have cats?
I mean, I grew up with a lot of cats. I have 1 cat now. I have a reasonable amount of cats now.
Well, I've heard is if you have 14 cats, you have a problem.
Yeah, that's definitely like borderline, borderline animal control having to stop by. Yeah.
Okay, so now you moved on now, and now you're with this company called PHLearn, PHLearn, PHLearn. Educate us. How do we say it? What does it do?
Yeah, PHLearn was started by a guy named Aaron Nace roughly about 8 years ago. It's the #1 Photoshop training company in the world online. So we don't teach any physical classes. We do everything video-based education online. And it's pretty straightforward. If you want to learn how to pretty much do anything you've ever dreamed about wanting to do in Photoshop, but it's create, gorgeous images that you're doing kind of digital art, or you want to retouch images to make them look beautiful, or you want to bulk edit things where you need to like do a wedding photography catalog where you shot something for a friend and you need to edit all of that. We pretty much teach you how to do those processes at a pretty much a master level inside of Photoshop and Adobe Lightroom, those two primary programs. And we also teach photography as well. So try to sharpen your skills and get better at that. And it's all just self-paced, self-guided. So there's no start times or things like that. And you kind of guide your way through. And it's a monthly subscription.
What does it cost?
Pretty affordable. It's only $10 a month. So we're probably the most affordable solution out there, which is probably why we're #1 in the space, because nobody else really comes close to our pricing and value.
And how did Aaron go about getting the first 10 customers or the first 100 customers?
I mean, he's one of those classic YouTube creator stories. I mean, he's one of those guys that he was doing something called a 365 project, where for 365 days straight, he posted a photo of himself that he heavily edited on Flickr, because Flickr was the Instagram of the, back of the 2009 and 10, 11 years. And basically people were like, how are you doing that? How are you creating all these crazy images? And he just started doing written explanations. And then that got really tedious. So he started doing really short videos on Vimeo. And then that got not enough people were seeing them there because nobody wanted to go to Vimeo. And then the magic happened when he just uploaded them to YouTube one day back in 2011. And it's one of those stories. It's like the rest is kind of history. He just kept uploading new content on a regular basis to YouTube. And now we have 1.7 million subscribers.
What?
And that's kind of how you do it. Basically, people are always like, well, how did you grow that big? How do you get that many subscribers? It's like, okay, post 700 videos for 7 years straight. It's
step one.
And, yeah. And that's step one. And step two is like, be interesting and create things that people want to actually watch. So all of that equals, Aaron. Aaron was really the reason why there were any customers at all. And he started moving a lot of those people over the last 8 years. We've migrated a ton of them to PHLearn.com, our actual paid platform, where they can stream our long professional classes, which are dramatically longer than stuff on YouTube. They're like 5, 6, 10, 20 hours long as opposed to like 15 minutes.
As we're talking about PHLearn, I want to ask you this here, and then we have one of our show sponsors with us, Josh with Living Water Irrigation. Josh, meet Seth there, by the way.
Hey, Seth, how do you do?
Good. How you doing?
Awesome.
You're looking. I tell you what, Seth, you're looking as good as Josh is right now. I can tell you that. I can just sense the audio quality. I can tell you how he's looking. He's looking great. Now, this is my question: is what is your motive? So many people ask me all the time. They say, Clay, what's your end game? What are you really trying to do? And they're like, teach people how not to be poor. Why? Because I grew up without money and I know what that feels like. But what's your end game? So I ask you the same thing, Mr. Seth. What is your end game? What is your real motive?
I like creating something from nothing, which is why I've jumped around to so many different types of companies over my career, from lead generation, which is insuranceagents.com, to ran owned a coffee company for a while there. I launched something called Technori, which is the largest startup showcase in the Midwest. It's kind of like a Shark Tank for startups based in Chicago. Then now I work at PHLearn as the CEO and running this company and a partner here. And then I have a couple other things in my sleeve that have nothing to do with education. One is actually a CPG, like a consumer packaged good product. So since I do not care about the industry, I'm completely industry agnostic. I could do anything in any industry.
Preach it.
I really don't care about the product at all.
Love it.
And really it's just the creating something from nothing. I just like knowing that nothing existed before this. And then suddenly, like, here are 10 employees and revenue and a company that people like and products, and it's really fascinating to me to how to do that, and that's the part I've always loved.
Now, real quick, I enjoy creating audio magic, so I'm going to play this sound clip for you, and I challenge you to not smile. Here we go, Seth. I'm going to play it for you. I challenge you to not smile. Here we go. See if you can just mental strength. I don't know why that's so good, but one of our listeners, he's an ophthalmologist in Tuscaloosa. When he laughs, this is how he sounds.
Sounds like somebody putting on a character. That's his real laugh.
That's his real laugh. And I mixed it with Leslie Nielsen from Naked Gun when there's the scene where he forgot to take off the lavalier mic. So he's urinating while the whole crowd of people is listening to him. And there's something magical. I mean, if you're ever in a lonely, dark place, just hit this button. It's so good. Josh, what question do you have for Seth Kravitz, the dude with the entrepreneurial attitude from PHLearn?
So, Seth, I'm going to do a two-parter just to make things difficult. So, it's so funny. We were talking, you said you're industry agnostic, and it was wonderful because a friend and I were discussing that earlier about how emotional and attached people get to their little businesses or to their thing or to their goal. So can you encourage our listeners out there about that, about it's just business, it's not holding hands and cuddling, and it's not that emotional?
Well, I guess a lot of founders do make the mistake of getting way too married to their idea, and they ride that idea right into the ground when they should have walked away. You know, some of them should have walked away months ago, years ago, and they're still trying to ride out this idea that is taking up all their time and sucking up all their life force. And, you know, even probably everyone around them is like, dude, you got to walk away. And like, they just won't because they're too married to like whatever it happens to be. And I've never been that way, luckily. And having seen enough people suffer through that, I definitely never want to. I probably will have some products over the course of my life because I plan on keep on doing this hopefully for decades going forward that I probably will love quite a bit. But even Technori, which is something that was a passion project that I really loved helping create that here in Chicago, I was able to sell that and walk away from it 3 years ago. And you just kind of reach a point where it's like it's time for me to go. And I think one of the biggest reasons for me, maybe why, I guess it's just knowing what you're best at. I am the best at the creation from the 0 point to like some sort of sustainability, and then I need to leave and get out of there because that's where I'm just not good from that point going forward. From scaling from 30 people to 100 people and 500 people, that's just not me. So that's definitely allowed me to be industry agnostic as well. It's just I know when it's time for me to leave, and I'm very opportunistic in the sense of like whatever in that moment happens to look good to me for some reason or another. It just catches my eye. It's like, okay, I'm gonna go do that now. And I don't know. It just led to a very interesting life. I mean, staying in one industry sounds incredibly boring to me. Even though I will admit there are huge advantages of staying in one industry is you can really master whatever that is, and the connections you build become incredibly valuable the next time you found the next company and the next company. So I totally understand why people stay in one industry for their entire lives, you know, founding multiple companies in it. But to me, that just sounds really boring.
As the CEO of PHLearn, where do you live and how do you organize the first 4 hours of your typical day?
Well, I live pretty close to the office to make it easy to just basically be here whenever I need to be here, and also to be able to get out of here and be home quickly. I have a 10-month-old son. I want to see him as much as possible. So my days are way more scheduled than they ever used to be.
Where are you located? What city or what state?
We're in Chicago.
Chicago. Okay, got it.
We're pretty close to downtown. So we're actually across from a giant rail yard. We're kind of an industrial area because we needed a gigantic space with very high ceilings at a low cost because we do a lot of photography and videography here in the studio.
Right.
So we're maybe not in like the coolest neighborhood or whatever, but none of our employees seem to care. They seem to like coming here.
Cow!
You're saying that even though it's not an super expensive office space, that people actually don't care that much?
No, they don't care. They care about the people they work with, and they care about the work they're doing. Shockingly, they don't really care whether or not we have like gorgeous ping pong tables and like a super sexy office downtown.
This is the audio. I think a lot of business owners think this is the audio that has to go with their office. You want to come work here at Acme Industries? We have sexy ping pong tables to compensate for our dispassionate worldview.
I do. Can I work there?
You know what I'm saying though. There's a lot of people that are compensating for being a poor leader with office furniture, a poor leader with having Class A office space. But I find the best leaders, the most passionate people, the people that are just people like to work there. They can go office in Dagobah. They can office on a farm. They can office in a ranch. They could be in Pawhuska, Oklahoma, and build the Pioneer Woman brand. I mean, you could be in Waco, Texas, and be Chip and Joanna. You could be on the surface of the moon, and maybe somebody crazy enough will go with you. But can you preach the good news to somebody out there who's compensating for the lack of being a good leader by buying various accoutrements while taking their company in a bad place, in a bad direction?
Well, generally, when I walk into a startup, especially a startup that has a gorgeous office, my first thought that comes to mind is like, wow, you're really good at spending money. Like, it doesn't tell me anything else. It doesn't tell me that's a great place to work. It doesn't tell me that they're actually really good at doing business of any kind, whatever it is they're actually doing. It just tells me they're really awesome at spending usually other people's money. So usually when you walk into a startup that actually has nice stuff, it's always VC funded, and they drop tremendous amounts of money into things that really don't matter versus, pumping that into their employees. And actually, like, we try to give our employees education options, like we'll pay for them to take, because we're an education company. So if they want to take courses, if they want to do a lot of things to improve themselves, we're always ready to back them up. And I feel like those are the things that really matter, and the things that actually help somebody feel like, this is a great place to work, as opposed, and also just being good managers and being available and not being weird and standoffish. Like, I've seen so many bad managers and leaders of startups where they just kind of sequester themselves off and they want to be left alone, or all sorts of weird behavior. And again, I guess a lot of startups are run by young people who would be attracted to the idea of, like, if I have a big sexy office, it means that I'm real now, and that I must be a real startup if I can afford all Aeron chairs for everybody, and everyone's got 3 32-inch monitors, and that means we're a real company if we have those things.
Now, okay, my final 30 seconds of hotness here. 30 seconds here. If you could recommend one book for all the listeners, and one book and one tip for all the listeners, what would they be?
Well, I mean, I've always been marketing focused most of my entire tech life. I used to be the tech guy. I used to be the coder engineer guy, and then I stopped being a software engineer and became pretty much purely a marketer, and ended up becoming more of a growth hacker because of that, because I was able to combine engineering processes with marketing processes. So based on all that, though, I had to learn how to think like a marketer. And the book that pretty much changed my life, that I think still changes tons of people's lives to this day, is Influence by Robert Cialdini. It's kind of like the Bible of why marketing works. Basically, it doesn't tell you that, like, here's an exact tactic, and it's not like
got it.
I've never been a big fan of the marketing books who are like, this is the exact thing that worked for me, because it worked for my company, it's going to work for yours too, because that tends to just not translate very well. And there's tons of people that write marketing books that way. And Influence is more based on just tremendous amounts of research and science going into, like, why does someone behave a certain way when they see certain, marketing messages, and how can you, I don't want to say the word take advantage of, but basically, like, how can you use that piece of information you now have to redo your marketing around making it much more influential? When the person sees it, they're going to react the way you want them to react. And once I read that book, it just, a lot of things started to click for the first time about why us as consumers, why are we so susceptible to certain types of marketing. And that book is, it's pretty approachable, even though it is pretty heavy on the research and science. He writes it in a really clever way. So he takes these complex ideas and breaks them down into really interesting business cases.
So if you could send everybody a quick text, a quick tip, what would that tip be on that text?
A lot of times it's just like, calm down. I had the struggle probably my first 2 years of being an entrepreneur, especially, where I was just like in constant panic mode,
right?
Where I thought everything at any moment could like destroy the company, or like things that were a huge deal, like I can look back on now a decade plus later, 15 years later, and be like, that was nothing. What the hell was I so upset about? And it's just really hard, I guess, in the moment when you're a brand new entrepreneur, to have any of that kind of long-term ability to be like, this is not going to be a big deal in a year. But in the moment, it feels like it's life or death. And I used to live at a constant 1 or a 10, like at all times during the day. And during the same day, I could have a 1 in the morning where like a huge client cancels on us, and then have a 10 where I pick up another even bigger client or whatever. And like now I try to just constantly ride in a 4 to 6 range.
Right.
And that's made me a way better leader of a company.
That's
and
so
I'm a much more stable, reliable, dependable founder of a company and leader now that I can consistently just live in 4 to 6 instead of living in 1 to 10.
Seth, I appreciate you, man, taking the time out of your schedule to be on this show. I'd love to have you on again, because you're just a fascinating guy. I think it's the tip of the iceberg here. But thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me. It's fun too. You're pretty you're definitely the most entertaining interview I've had in a very long time.
And now, without any further ado, 3, 2, 1, boom! Stop what you're doing and think about this for a second. What would happen if your company was suddenly able to generate exponentially more quality sales leads? That would be incredible. What would happen if your company came up at the top or near the top of the Google search engine results? Well, I would just feel overwhelmed with all that business. How many thousands of dollars in lost sales or millions of dollars in lost sales are you missing out on simply because your potential customers can't find you when they go online to search for the products and services that you offer? I refuse to think that thought because I don't want any more business. Unless you are a dirty communist that hates money, my new book, Search Engine Domination, will help you grow your business. In my new book, Search Engine Domination, we will teach you the specific steps that you need to take to dominate the search engine results. What do you mean by dominate? You see, in my new book, Search Engine Domination, we will teach you the specific steps that you need to take to dominate search engine results. Download your free ebook copy today at thebestseobook.com. I repeat, that's thebestseobook.com.
My name is Amy Baltimore, and I am a CPA in Covington, Tennessee. I've been working with the Thrive team now for about a year. One of the first things that they did was to update my website and my search engine optimization. I prior had a website, but I was not being found on Google, and all of my new business was coming through referrals from friends, family, etc. And right away, I started to see results. People were calling and coming in saying that they found me on Google. They just Googled CPA near me, and there I was at the top of the page. And so it's been a great help to my business.
Again, you can download your free ebook copy today at thebestseobook.com.
Hey, this is Dustin Huff. I'm with Keystone Harbor Marina. We joined Thrive back in January and have been working with these guys for about 7 months. During that time period, we have moved up our Google rank through reviews and SEO processes that we've compiled through these guys. Our leads have gone from about 4 a week to now 165 a week. So the process works. I will tell you from experience, once you begin, you have to stay with it. As long as you continually do this week in and week out, month in and month out, you'll continually grow.
The system works, but nothing works unless you do. You've got to take some action. Download the ebook for free today at thebestseobook.com.
Hello, my name is Daniel with Daniel's Heating and Air here in Amarillo, Texas. The way Google has affected my business, we have got a lot of calls from Google. Right now it's July, and we've had the best month ever. And it took us about 8 to 10 months to get on top of Google, and I'm glad we did.
Remember, nothing works unless you do. You have to go to thebestseobook.com today. Download the ebook for free. Just download that ebook for free, and you'll be off to the races.
Hi, my name is Christina Nemus. I'm the owner and operator of Angel's Touch Auto Body and Detailing in Bourne, Massachusetts. We have been working with Thrive and their coaching for, say, 8 to 9 months, and it took us about 6 months, 5 to 6 months to get on the top of Google, and with their help with the website and marketing, and the SEO and retargeting ads with Google, and it has been phenomenal. We just have light and day business coming in, phone calls coming in, walk-ins, referrals. It's just through the roof, and we couldn't be happier. At the moment, we are up 50% this year from the previous year, and not only is that part of our own hard work and diligence, but also with the help of Thrive and what they've done for us and getting us on the top of Google and, you know, all their knowledge and coaching. And yeah, so super grateful, super pumped to see what the future holds for all of us. Thank you.
This is your year to thrive. Success you will find. Today is your day, and now is your time.
Lazy hands make for poverty, but diligent hands bring wealth. Proverbs 10:4. I'm here to tell you, you can do it if you can just motivate yourself. 12 the masses had to cut off a few, so on the daily you and I could rendezvous. A misshapen tree that I had to prune. I had to make cuts to be here daily at noon. So like a tidal wave of knowledge monsoon, I could rain on the parades of those who doubt in you. Are you the next Rockefeller or the next guru? Or the next Dr. King who's changing the rules? Walls are in your way, will you run right through? Like a running back, force the one, it's up to you. I remember my days back in the dorm room, tuned to the gloom like the temple of doom, overwhelmed with the doubts that try to consume my hope for the future that I could pursue. But from the mountaintop now I can conclude that you have what it takes if you want the view to.
This is your year to thrive. Success you will find. Today is your day, and now is your time. It's your year to thrive. Success you will find. Today is your day, and now is your time.
This moment is profound cause you're above the ground. Your road might have been rough, but what you got now is now. We're here to pick you up and to even show you how, but you gotta be resourceful with that old plow. Started from the bottom, but I worked my way up, cause by 4 a.m. I've always been prayed up. Rise and grind as your time, don't dare let up. You gotta get it, don't quit it till your seeds grow
This
up.
is your year to thrive.
Come on.
Success you will find.
Yes.
Today is your day,
Somebody say,
and now is your time.
It's your time.
It's your year to thrive.
come on.
Success you will find. Today is your day, and now is your time.
It's your time. We all have a wish and we all want to win, but we cannot begin without self-discipline. If you fall on your face, get yourself up again. Attach yourself to goals, not fail with the friends. When the storms get rough and they scatter and leave, you only be there with yourself and what you believe. We believe in you, but not as much as God does. If you're going through hell, He's got nothing but love. Apply what you learn, increase what you earn, and in due time
You
you
got
have money to burn.
Apply what you learn, increase what you earn, and in due time you got money to burn.
Sing it.
Apply what you learn, increase what you earn, in due time you got money to burn.
Sing it.
Apply what you learn,
Sing it.
increase what you earn.
Yes.
In due time you got money to
With
to
this biblical
burn.
miracle,
Yeah.
I look to shout down the doubters, kill the weeds that be killing your dream flowers, empower you to devour all the obstacles that make your sweet dreams sour. As for me, I used to stutter, but now I'm on the microphone smooth like butter. If I can do it, I know you can too, but you must stick to it like postage do. And while Merton's on the chorus, singing what he sings, I encourage you to dream big dreams.
Today is your day,
Today's your day.
and now is your time.
It's your time.
This is your year to thrive.
Sing it, sing it.
Success you will find. Today is your day,
It's your day.
and now is your time.
It's your time.
Today is your day,
Come on.
and now is your time.
Sing it, Martin.
Today is your day, now is your time.
I realize I can't sing like that, but I can talk and play the woodblock. Okay. If you guys need me, I'll just be over here.